What do you understand by transmission of result real times? And do you think the Nigerians think that this is tenable, this is achievable? What is your position about transmission of result real times? Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Ojo Zakalo.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Oji Ozokalo. I represent Abia North of Abia State Senatorial District. Mr. President, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Nominee, thank you for coming, and my question will be very brief to you because your resume for you is yes. And I was surprised. But knowing you as a professor, let me go straight to the question. One president challenge that have been of late is the deployment of materials and personnel. Knowing the vastness of our nation and the complexity of the country, tell us what strategy will you bring to manage the complexity of the country, especially on the areas that have bad terrains and security challenges? These areas are areas that you must not allow any Nigeria to be disenfranchised because they have security challenge or because people will tell you, oh, that place is hilly, that place is far. What is your strategy? Is threatening to...
I like to work fast, and switching between all my work apps was slowing me down. With ClickUp, all my work is in one place. My docs, tasks, calendar, and even my team's chat is seamlessly connected so we can work efficiently. If you want to finish your work faster, you should get ClickUp. Create your workspace for free. Do it. What are you waiting for?
Prof, I'll congratulate you, but I'm sure you have had enough accolades. So I'll go straight to the question. No matter how beautiful our electoral policies and procedures are, the integrity of the people who carry out this election matters. Now I'm going to talk about the integrity of the people who either are INEC staff or ad hoc staff, who are going to be the people who conduct these elections. Prof, how are you going to set up an internal mechanism that is going to deter the people conducting elections from compromising? How are you going to prevent it? And what mechanism are you going to put in place to detect when such compromises occur? And finally, how are you going to ensure that there is adequate punishment, maybe working with the National Assembly, to prosecute those who are entrusted with the responsibility to conduct the election, but who goes back to compromise the election? Thank you very much.
Very good question. I wish it came last so that you can reassure all Nigerians. But it's a very good question. Very, very good question. Because Prof can only administer, but the real nitty-gritty is with those who are vested with the responsibility of going to the nooks and crannies of the nation. What they do and bring back can either mar his administration or promote his administration. So, Prof, at that stage, I think you should answer together with the other questions so far asked.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, the Senate President, distinguished senators. May I respond by taking the last question first? I think that is a major concern. That is the question of Senator Osita. It's a major concern of everybody, because one of the things that we have to do is to work out an internal mechanism that we can use to trail the behavior of humans. In the first place, I'm taking this position on trust, and the people who I'm going to work with, they must also appreciate the fact that they are there on trust, and because you have made the law that that should be done. So one of the ways is to set up an ethical committee so that you can have an audit of what has happened, because there have been several cases that have been reported and nothing were done. Some have been taken to court, like in Bayelsa State, there were some cases like that, and I believe in Adamawa, where some people were prosecuted and even convicted. So we are going to follow through and pursue that course. And also to say that maybe we are also going to work the National Assembly, because there will be need for some legislative intervention in some cases. For instance, there is a need for an electoral offenses commission that would be able to investigate. INEC does not really have the capacity presently. You investigate, you detect, investigate, and then prosecute. And strengthening the internal disciplinary procedure, follow due process, to ensure that those that are involved in such misconduct are brought to book, even if we need to use forensic to do that. And we also hope to probably see, well, I have not gotten there, but we have factored it as part of the likely challenges we are going to confront. We can introduce a whistleblowing policy too that will enable people to detect and expose such practices so that it can be dealt with. If I now go to distinguished Senator Uzokalu, deployment of materials, the complexity of the country, the issue of security. I want to say that the issue of security is a major challenge, but at the same time, it can be confronted headlong. I know there's a joint committee on election security. So one of the things we have to do is to work with that committee and see how we can strengthen security in those challenge areas. Additionally, we can also invest more on logistics to ensure that every part of Nigeria we can penetrate. Even if we have to use drones or whatever, with necessary safeguards to ensure that those materials get to those places, because no voter will be left behind. And that will be one of our policies. Now, also addressing Senator Ningi's question, participation and love for Nigeria, there's going to be aggressive voters education and civic education, so that INEC will perform that role under Section 2 of the Act, which is a major responsibility to ensure that people are educated. You build capacity not just of your staff, of all the election stakeholders, including the political parties, the members of political parties, the masses, as well as technocrats and elites. So we will embark on aggressive civic education and build capacity to be able to confront those challenges. On the issue of transmission of real time, I was looking at the amendment to the Electoral Act. We are going to look at what it is as it is now. Thankfully, it's not been concluded. So if I'm giving the nod, I will have the opportunity to make my own input and also to look at the decision of courts and see how that issue can be addressed. I spoke to it earlier on that nobody seemed to even understand what it was. And a lot of people felt it was another collation system. But Supreme Court said it was not. So we just need to look at it and see what is on ground. So when we get there, we'll see what is on ground, the infrastructure, and how best to approach it. Because we understand the fact that it can add credibility to our election. For instance, the timeline is in the Constitution. But apart from that, there are even inconsistent timeline provisions within the Act itself. Because you set some timelines which is in contradiction with another provisions on timeline. So all those issues will have to be streamlined and ensure that there are no ambiguities. And then we have election litigation. So we are going to see how an election is credible so that the loser will even come and congratulate the winner and say you won fairly and well. So if we can do that, it's just like a judge convicting a person, sentencing him to death, and say, well done, because I believe I've got injustice. And the distinguished Senator Oje, on issue of security, I think I've spoken to that, sir, that we will look into it. I don't have the facts now, but I know there's a joint action committee which I co-chair, and then we'll see how best to address the issue of security as far as election materials are concerned. And finally, distinguished Senator Yari, thank you for your question, sir. I want to say that you have enough laws. This Parliament, National Assembly, have established, enacted laws for the purposes of ensured proper utilization of funds, and that is the Procurement Act and the Finance Act. So those laws that have been enacted will be enforced strictly in order to ensure that funding of the Commission are utilized for the purpose for which they have been given. And if there are opportunities to save funds, to save costs, we shall also do that. Thank you, sir. Distinguished Your Excellency, sir, the Senate President.
Distinguished colleagues, is it the view of the Senate that you could sit down and write the questions before going back to the microphone? Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. You see the way they are looking forward to your coming. They all love you.
Thank you, sir.
So take a seat, and then as they ask questions, you write them down. And then you now come to the microphone. Because we've looked at your resume. You are a very fit and proper person, and then you don't have any medical issues. But we don't want any. We've not finished our hospital, so we don't want any mishap. So once in a while, you sit down like that, write the questions. When you are ready, you just signify and come back to the microphone. So within that period, you can drink water. You are allowed. The Distinguished Senator Siraki Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my dear colleagues. Henry Siraki Dixon, Bayelsa West. Mr. President, I have a short question and then...
Now, let's go.
Directly and positively, whether you were in fact a part of the president's legal team as alleged or speculated about, whether in any way, shape, or form you were part of the president's defense or legal team arising from litigations in the last presidential election. That is the question. Then, on the comment, I agree completely with the premise on which my good friend and colleague, Senator Ningi, the premise upon which he made his comments, which is that INEC, right from the first indigenous chairman, Esua, in the 50s till date, so many professors like you have been appointed. So many jurists have been appointed. And so, being a professor speaks to your scholarship. In your own case, what is, for me, giving some level of comfort is the additional fact that you are, in addition to being a professor of law, you are a senior advocate of Nigeria. And this is the first time a senior advocate, in addition to being a professor, the two combined is being nominated for this office. Why I say I agree with Ningi is because from the resume of your predecessors, there's no lack of scholarship or intellectual capacity or prowess in none at all. The issue has been, as I rightly said, integrity, patriotism, and above all, courage to do the right thing, capacity to be fair. Most of them are first-class scholars. You, at your age, have invested with this responsibility to make Nigeria proud. And look at our neighboring country, Ghana. The general elections they conduct. The last one specifically, the presidential election, no litigation. Even before the final vote, the tally was counted, the sitting vice president, who was candidate of the ruling party, called President Mahama now in office, considered defeat. So even within our West African sub-region, there's no doubt that we are clearly not acting as the giants of Africa when it comes to electoral integrity. So my comment will be,
Question.
What will you do differently to write your name in gold to ensure that the results that will be announced will reflect the will of the people, so that everybody will congratulate one another and go and prepare for the next election. That way, Nigeria will renew its leadership and will reinforce our national identity and pride. Elections should not bring us down or make us look small or divide us. And you are aware of the onerous responsibility that history beckons on you. What would you do differently? But like I said earlier, use this opportunity to address the issues that have been speculated, rightly or wrongly, so that you can, from now, build a foundation of integrity and confidence on the people. Were you a part of the president's legal team or no? Thank you.
Well, I would have said, if you had spoken without asking question and a mischievous question, it would have looked as if you are no longer in opposition. But when you mentioned Ghana and other West African countries, they actually borrowed from Nigeria. You are from Bayelsa State, representing a section of Bayelsa. Recall that when the last election was done, even before the final announcement, the then president Jonathan, who was from Bayelsa, congratulated President Buhari even before the final election was done. Clearly, and I'm also aware that in 2007, the elections were not very good. That even the person who won came out and said, I must reform the electoral system. And that was late President Yaradua. May his soul rest in peace. He said to himself, and by the time he finished, in 2011, when I contested for second term as a governor, I can tell it was much better. The litigations were less than 30% of what we had in 2007. So I know that as the election improves, not just the participants have confidence to congratulate their opponents. So that's what they are telling him. He should go and he should conduct where what? Where what? At that time, PDP was not torn into shreds. No, Senator Ningi, at that time, the PDP was not torn into shreds. But there's no human being that is sane today that can even go to such a platform, because you are going straight into litigation. You are going straight into litigation. So let us not discuss with the incoming chairman of INEC as if we are giving him a clue, because you are going straight into litigations. Who is going to sign your form? Sahabi Yao.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Yao Sahabi Haji. I represent Zamparano Senatorial District. Mr. Nominee, you have all it takes to be the chairman of INEC.